Hello, and in this video we are going to be analysing this advert for Taylor Swift's album Red. Now there are two elements we're going to be looking at. You've got the copy and you've got the art and graphics. And obviously you can see from this they're subdivided into different elements. You are going to need to find your own album release advert to analyse. Okay? So you want to try and find one that ticks off as many of these boxes as you can. Now, first things first, let's look at the copy. Now, the first thing is the headline. The headline, in this case, is the name of the thing you are selling, which in this case is the album Red by Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is the brand that you're selling. She is a brand. She's not just a singer. You're not just listening to her songs and buying her albums. She has got an entire, portfolio. She's like a cross-platform brand, right? Clothes and music videos and concerts and, whatever sort of merchandising and brand deals she's got. You're buying the entire Taylor Swift package. Okay? I don't think, as far as I know, that Taylor Swift consistently uses the same fonts and logos and things across her various products. A lot of artists, think of a band like, I don't know, especially rock bands, so if you think of something like Kiss or Metallica, they've got a very distinctive, recognizable logo. Right? I've always said the ideal name for a band and logo should be something you could draw on your exercise book in biro. Right? But I don't think that's true of Taylor Swift. So, that's the main thing that needs to be the biggest thing on the image. It needs to stand out. That branding. And in this case, the name of the album. Okay? Now, we have to consider our semiotics here. Roland Barthes. So with our copy, we are using a sans serif display font. You don't want more than 3 different fonts or 3 different colours, main predominant block colours in your pictures, in your images. If you've got more than 3 different fonts on there, it's what they call ransom noting. It looks a complete mess. Okay? So keep it simple. Now these display fonts are ones that stand out and are easy to read from a distance. You'll notice that the fonts on this are very tall and thin. They're going to be at least 25% taller than the standard font. So you're stretching it. This allows you to have text that takes up more of the page vertically but not horizontally. Taylor Swift, for example, is a long name, right? You can't make it wider, but you can make it taller so it stands out more. So that's a good technique to make your text easier to read from a distance, especially if it's a long name, right? Making your album names as short as possible is usually a good tactic, right? They need to be punchy and attention grabbing. Obviously the word red is written in red, right? It would be utterly bizarre if you made it blue. That would blow people's minds. You can't colour the word red in blue, right? Unless you're doing it deliberately to, attack the audience. So the semiotics are important. And red, why red? Red is a colour of passion, yeah? But it's a strong, bold colour. It connotes strength, right? Now, Taylor Swift is written in an almost ivory colour. It's sort of like not properly white. We'll get on to why that is later. But you'll also notice that it's got a drop shadow on it to make it really pop against that background. Because the background, because it's a black and white photograph, is grey. So if you add white text on a white background without a drop shadow or like a stroke, you wouldn't be able to see it very well. But that's the main thing that's drawing our attention, is that copy. It's the name of the album and the name of the artist. Now, when you look at the layout and the design, we are encouraged to read this advert in a certain way. And that's called a Z line. Because we read left to right and top to bottom in English, that's how this is laid out. The first thing that draws our attention is the word red. That captures our attention. but our eyes sort of like flow down along this Taylor Swift here, so it draws us to her. All right. Now the next thing that's going to capture us is her face. So essentially we're going from that to that. So we're looking at her face, and then our eyes are drawn down her body to here, and then across the page here. So that's our Z line. It's a common technique used in adverts. All right. So we'll go from this to the image. Now, if we look at the image, obviously the main point of focus here is her face. Now, one of the things you've got to consider in your project work is representations of social groups. Now, with Taylor Swift, what does she represent to her audience? Now, her principal target audience are going to be millennial and Gen Z women, right? And for the millennial Gen Z women, she is going to represent an ideal self, an aspirational role model. Here we can bringing in theories, like Carl Rogers, this idea of ideal self. We could bring in, someone like Stuart Hall and talking about stereotyping, which obviously is a term coined by Walter Lippmann. Right? What is the perfect woman for this target audience? White, blonde, beautiful, thin. Right? There's a certain body type there that's considered the ideal. Right? Again, the shape of her face, her hairstyle, everything. These are things that the audience are going to want to copy. Right? She's there to be a style icon. Right? So she is this ideal self. That's the representation. For a male audience, first off, that'd be a preferred reading, a hegemonic, a dominant reading for Stuart Hall. But for a male audience, or indeed a queer audience, it could be an ideal partner. For a lesbian audience, it could be ideal partner, ideal self at the same time. Right? So she is there as this icon of beauty. But also it's about her talent and her success and her, business acumen and all this kind of stuff. Now let's consider the semiotics of this image. So let's try postmodernism, right? One of the key elements of postmodernism is nostalgia. And this image has got a very nostalgic retro feel. It's going for this kind of old sepia-toned photograph feel, right? This could have been a photograph from the 60s or the 70s. She could be, you compare her to someone like Linda Ronstadt or, any of those kinds of like chanteurs, singers, Stevie Nicks, things like that, okay? So it's got that kind of feel to it. It's kind of folky. Looks like a folk album. But also there's an element of country because, she started as a pop country singer back in her youth, right? So look at her hat. That could be a Stetson. Yeah, this blousey kind of shirt's got a kind of retro feel to it. The mini skirt, that's very 60s, right? The hair, that's other than her fringe, which is kind of modern. Her hair could be a bit Farrah Fawcett, a bit 1970s. Yeah, so it's going very retro. So it's got that sense of nostalgia. The juxtaposition of her face with this cage, well, that's got a sense of narrative, so we can be considering Svetlana Todorov here, right? What's that connoting? Well, one thing we know about Taylor Swift is she likes writing songs about breakups. It's the caged bird that sings. She's feeling trapped. She's a singer like the bird, but now she's escaped the cage, right? Now, there's a diagonal line if we follow her body. There's quite a diagonal. Diagonal lines are dynamic. They're exciting. They show forward momentum and progress, right? But if we look at the way it's composed as well, she's looking back over her shoulder, like Marjorie Ferguson, almost like invitational look. But what's she looking at? What's over here? Well, her past is over here. What's over here is her future, but we can't see that. Right? So we've got a sense of enigma. We're back to Roland Barthes again. There's an enigma to this image. She's hemmed in by this sort of like, I don't know what it is, a porch or a veranda or something. Again, it's a sense of being entrapment. Again, with Roland Barthes, the fact that her name crosses over onto her body, telling us that she's Taylor Swift, is anchoring the image. Again, we're talking about the fact it's emphasizing her beauty. It's showing off her legs. It's showing off her face. This ties in with Laura Mulvey and the male gaze. It ties in with Lisbeth Van Zunen talking about the way in which women are objectified. Yeah, would Taylor Swift be as successful if she wasn't so beautiful? Right? I mean, how many ugly pop stars do you see in the 21st century? It's black and white, again, with a sepia tone effect. It's making it seem retro. It's making it seem old-fashioned. That's why Taylor Swift is in this ivory colour. If that was in a white font, it would be too bright against this background. It's the reason why red is not a very vibrant red. It's a sort of like a dusty red, so it's not too harsh. Notice the way it also uses positive and negative space. This is positive space because it's got your main focus of interest. But this is negative space. There's not really anything in there. It's using a shallow depth of field to make the background go blurry. That means that the text, the copy, the headline pop better against the background. Like if this was in colour, all this green would clash with the red. If this wasn't out of focus, then you wouldn't be able to read the text. It would act like a camouflage and break it up. Right? So it's about making that stand out. So again, our eyes have followed up here and have gone down here now to this piece of information, this bit of copy. So down here, again, we're using the tall block capitals, 16 brand new songs. Well, that's exciting. That's bringing up excitement in the audience. 16 new Taylor Swift songs. We need to listen to that. Bit more information underneath it, featuring the #1 multi-platinum selling single. This is all in lowercase or in sentence case. That's making us think, ooh, that's popular. Everyone else likes it. I probably will too. Then, in capitals, because it's important, and in red to link back to the name of the album, the names of the songs in speech marks or quotation marks. We're never ever getting back together again and begin again. Well, that gives a sense of narrative, doesn't it? She has dumped her ex and she is starting her life again, which is mirroring and helping to anchor the meaning of the picture. So our eyes are drawn down here to this. This is the album cover. We need to know what the album cover looks like, so when we go in the shop, we see it on the shelf, we can buy it. It's overlaid on this banner, and it encourages our eye to go across. Now, there we have a call to action. An advert is useless on its own, right? If all we're doing is consuming the advert, it's failed in its job. The point of the advert is to get us to buy things. We need some kind of engagement, right? Now, it could be going to a streaming service and streaming it, or it could be going to Bandcamp and downloading a la carte MP4 or MP3 or WAV file or whatever. Or in this case, it's about going and buying a physical copy. That's coming back into fashion because it gives you something collectible, something tactile, whether it be a CD or vinyl or even cassette nowadays. And this one is an exclusive. So we've got this exclusive deal with Target, which is a big American department store, supermarket, right? Now, they will have paid serious money to get this exclusive. They want you, possibly, not just buy the ordinary album, but to buy this special edition as well. So, the Target Deluxe Edition, this copy says, including exclusive album art, so it's different album cover, 3 extra tracks and bonus tracks, and 3 remixes. So you're getting more value for money there, right? So they're giving something extra. Obviously it'll be more expensive, right? But it's giving you more incentive to go and buy it in a physical shop. Why are Target doing this? Because whilst you go in there to buy this Taylor Swift album, you're going to buy some other stuff while you're in there, right? So it's giving you information. So our eyes follow along there. Ooh, different cover. Oh, and get that at Target. When? 22nd of October. So available, the date. We need that. Exclusively at Target, it says. This banner, all this text is in. I got to say, this black against that red is a bit dark for my liking. I would have gone with maybe this ivory colour, just to distinguish it a bit better. But the banner is sort of like translucent. We can partly see through it, so it's not covering up too much of her legs. They draw attention. That's why she's in a miniskirt, right? We've got this rule here dividing it into sections. We've got this stroke around the outside to make it pop against the background. Notice we've also got a drop shadow here to make this text stand out better as well. Now, this call to action, go and buy it. But then we've got other things like more other engagement. You're not just buying stuff. It's got the web address, so you can go onto a website, maybe buy some merch, buy some concert tickets. Is more engagement. Maybe sign up to a newsletter. The brief for the project says you need social media links. Definitely put them down there, especially important for indie artists. Get involved in that social media, get them following, getting them clicking on stuff. It's that call to action, very important. If anything, the most important thing about an advert is the call to action. So, that's a sort of like brief analysis. I say brief, I've been doing it for 15 minutes. That's an analysis of this advert. You need to go and find your own example and do a similar kind of analysis.